Hey. Time for another out-of-this-world story from rSpace. It started like any other school year. Sharpened pencils, packed lunches, and overly enthusiastic parents signing up to chaperone field trips. Today on rSpace, this marriage gets an F for fidelity. Wife had an affair with our daughter's teacher. I informed the school board, and now she's banned from campus. My wife and I have been married for 12 years. We have a 10-year-old daughter. We moved to this school district 3 years ago, and our daughter has been thriving academically. Everything seemed to be going well until this school year started. When our daughter started 5th grade, she got assigned to a new teacher. My wife immediately volunteered to help with classroom activities. She'd always been involved in our daughter's education, but there was something different about her enthusiasm this time. She started spending more time at the school than she ever had before. I didn't think much of it until I noticed she was texting a lot more than usual. She'd be smiling at her phone, and whenever I walked into the room, she'd switch to another app. When I asked who she was texting, she'd just say, a friend, or someone from the school volunteer group. The parent-teacher meetings started becoming more frequent too. At least that's what she told me they were. She'd come home later and later, always with some excuse about helping set up for a school event or organizing something for the class. When I asked for details, she'd get defensive and vague, saying I wouldn't understand or that it was boring school stuff. Then she started changing her appearance. New clothes, different makeup, a new haircut. She was putting more effort into how she looked when going to these volunteer events than she did when we went out together. That's when the alarm bells really started ringing. Our daughter innocently mentioned one day that her mom and her teacher seemed to be really good friends and that they were always laughing together. I asked what she meant, and she just shrugged and said they talked a lot when her mom came to help in the classroom. I checked her phone records. There were hundreds of texts to a number I didn't recognize, at all hours of the day and night. When I casually asked about her plans for the weekend, she told me she needed to attend a weekend teacher workshop to help with the classroom projects. I offered to join her, but she quickly shut that down, saying it was just for parent volunteers. While she was away at this supposed workshop, I found a hotel receipt in her purse for a room with a king bed. The hotel was only 20 minutes from her house. Why would she need a hotel room for a school workshop so close to home? I decided I needed to know what was really going on. The next time she said she had a volunteer meeting after school, I waited 30 minutes and then drove to the school. When I got there, the classroom was empty. I ran to the janitor, who mentioned he'd seen my wife and my daughter's teacher leaving together in his car about 20 minutes earlier. I went home and did some searching online. It wasn't hard to find the teacher's address. He had it listed on a community sports league website. I drove over there and, sure enough, my wife's car was parked outside his apartment complex. I sat in my car for almost an hour, taking photos. They kissed goodbye at his door. Not a friendly peck, but a full-on passionate kiss. I took several clear photos of them together, then drove home before she could spot me. Instead of confronting her that night, I decided to gather more evidence. Over the next few days, I documented everything. The texts, the locations, the times she was supposedly at school events, but was actually at his apartment. I found hotel receipts, dinner charges, at restaurants across town, and even gifts she'd bought him using our joint credit card. I consulted with a divorce attorney without telling her. The attorney advised me to gather as much evidence as possible and to research the school district's policies on teacher-parent relationships. Turns out, the district has a very strict policy against teachers having romantic relationships with parents of their students. It's considered a serious conflict of interest and grounds for termination. With all my evidence in hand, I emailed the school principal requesting an urgent meeting. I explained that I had discovered an inappropriate relationship between my wife and my daughter's teacher, and I was concerned about the impact on my daughter's education and well-being. The principal responded immediately and scheduled a meeting for the next day. I met with the principal, vice principal, and a representative from the school district. I presented all my evidence. The photos, the text messages, receipts, everything. They were shocked, to say the least. The principal assured me they would take immediate action, as this violated multiple school policies. The next day, the teacher was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. My wife received a call from the principal informing her she was temporarily banned from campus. She came home in a complete panic but didn't tell me about the ban. She just said there was some issue at school she needed to deal with. While she was distracted by the school situation, I had my attorney prepare the divorce papers. I waited until I knew she was going to meet the teacher again. The tracking app showed she was heading to his apartment. I had the papers served to her while she was there. The server took photos of her receiving the papers at the teacher's door as additional evidence. While she was out, I changed the locks on her house and left her belongings packed in suitcases on the porch. I included printouts of all the evidence I had gathered with the divorce papers, the photos, text messages, hotel receipts, everything. When she came home and found the locks changed and her things packed, she completely lost it. She called and texted me nonstop, pleading and crying. I only responded with a text telling her to contact my lawyer for all future communication. The school board held an emergency meeting about the situation. I attended and provided my testimony. The teacher was there with a lawyer and admitted to the relationship. The board voted unanimously to terminate his employment. The school then issued a formal letter permanently banning my wife from campus. She would only be allowed to attend our daughter's events with prior approval and supervision. My wife tried to pick up our daughter from school despite the ban. School security had to prevent her from entering the campus, and she caused a huge scene threatening to sue the school. A few days later, I received a message from the teacher. He apologized for the affair and revealed that my wife had told him we were separated and getting divorced. He provided screenshots of the conversation where she had lied about our marriage, claiming I was emotionally abusive and that she was just staying with me for our daughter's sake. At our first divorce court hearing, my wife's lawyer tried to argue that the campus ban was unfair and harmful to her relationship with our daughter. The judge disagreed and upheld the school's decision, citing their authority to maintain a safe educational environment. The judge established a temporary custody arrangement, giving me primary custody and my wife supervised visitation only. I've tried to shield our daughter from as much of the drama as possible. I explained the situation in age-appropriate terms, simply telling her that mom and dad were having problems and would be living apart. I arranged for her to see a therapist to help with her process everything. The hardest part has been seeing how confused and hurt our daughter is by all of this. She doesn't understand why her mom can't come to school events anymore, or why she needs supervision to visit with her. I've tried to be honest without sharing details that would damage her relationship with her mother or her view of her teacher. I never wanted any of this to happen. I thought we had a good marriage. I never imagined my wife would betray our family like this, especially with someone directly involved in our daughter's education. What I find most unfortunate is that she put our daughter in this position. The divorce proceedings are ongoing, but I'm focused on providing stability for our daughter. The school has been incredibly supportive, assigning her to a new classroom and providing additional counseling services. I'm grateful that they took swift action to protect not just my daughter, but all the students. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I made the right decision. Some people have criticized me for ruining 2 careers, but I didn't choose to start an inappropriate relationship. They did. Actions have consequences and they're both facing theirs now. As for me, the betrayal still stings, but I'm determined to come out of this stronger for my daughter's sake. She needs at least one parent she can count on right now. What really sticks with me is how selfish her actions were. Not just the affair, but the way she dragged your daughter's school life into it. Volunteering is one thing, but using school events as cover for an affair with your child's teacher? Yikes. You didn't ruin any careers. You just told the truth. They're the ones who chose to throw professionalism and boundaries out the window, and they're dealing with the consequences of their actions, not yours. Update. About a month after my initial post, I discovered my wife had been telling family that I was abusive, which is why she had to seek comfort elsewhere. Several people who know both of us forwarded me screenshots of messages where she painted herself as the victim. I was furious. Not only had she cheated and lied, but now she was trying to destroy my reputation to gain sympathy. I immediately forwarded these screenshots to my lawyer. My daughter's therapist contacted me around this time to let me know that my daughter was experiencing anxiety about seeing her mother. During these sessions, my daughter revealed she felt uncomfortable around her mom because she was always angry and kept asking questions about me and what I was saying about her. The therapist recommended we adjust the visitation schedule to help reduce my daughter's stress. Things took an even worse turn when my wife violated her custody agreement. She was supposed to have supervised visitation at her sister's house, but instead she took our daughter to meet the teacher. Yes, the same teacher who had been fired because of their affair. My daughter called me from the bathroom of the restaurant. She said her mom had surprised her by bringing Mr. Teacher to lunch and kept telling her how they were going to be a new kind of family. I drove to the restaurant, documented everything, and took my daughter home. I filed an emergency motion to modify the custody arrangement the next day. At the hearing, the judge was not pleased. After reviewing the evidence and hearing testimony from my daughter's therapist, the judge further restricted my wife's visitation rights to supervised visits at a family center only. My wife stood up in court and accused me of turning our daughter against her, which only made her look worse to the judge. A few weeks later, I heard that cheating soon-to-be ex and the teacher were still seeing each other. Apparently, he hadn't been able to find another teaching position due to his termination. She had the audacity to contact my lawyer demanding more money in the divorce settlement to support them since they were struggling financially. My lawyer reminded her lawyer that adultery doesn't typically result in more favorable settlements for the cheating spouse, or something like that. The school board sent me a letter thanking me for bringing the situation to light. They've implemented new training and policies regarding inappropriate teacher-parent boundaries. My daughter was assigned to a new classroom for the upcoming school year, and the school counselor had been providing additional support for her. I'm grateful for how seriously they've taken the situation. When the new school year started, my daughter adjusted well to her new teacher. However, my soon-to-be ex attempted to volunteer at a school field trip by having another parent sign her in as a guest. Fortunately, a teacher recognized her and alerted the administration. The school immediately reinforced the campus ban. She then filed a motion to have the campus ban lifted, claiming it was damaging her relationship with our daughter. At the hearing, the school board's attorney presented evidence of her attempts to circumvent the ban, along with testimony from school staff about the disruption she had caused. The judge denied her motion and upheld the school's decision. My wife had a complete meltdown outside the courthouse, screaming that everyone was against her and that I had bought off the judge. Several people recorded her outburst, which didn't help her case. I discovered she had created fake social media accounts to monitor me. She was also spreading rumors in our community that I had manipulated the school board because I had connections. Then came karma. The teacher broke up with my wife. I found out because she showed up at my house one evening, crying, claiming she had made a terrible mistake. She said she wanted her family back and that she'd do anything to make things right. I refused to let her in and told her to leave or I'd call the police. She kept insisting that we could work things out, that the affair had been just a mistake, and that she'd realized what was truly important. I reminded her that she had destroyed our family, lied to everyone, tried to damage my reputation, and violated court orders regarding our daughter. There was no coming back from that. When she wouldn't leave, I called the police, who escorted her off of my property. I filed for a restraining order the next day. At our final divorce hearing, the judge granted the divorce and awarded me primary custody of our daughter. My wife received limited supervised visitation and was ordered to pay child support based on her income. The division of assets favored me. The judge specifically cited her pattern of dishonesty and disregard for court orders as factors in the decision. After the divorce was finalized, my ex began missing her scheduled visitation with our daughter. At first, she would call with excuses. She was sick, her car broke down, she had to work. Eventually, she stopped calling altogether. She also stopped paying the required child support. My daughter actually seemed relieved not to have to see her mother, which broke my heart in a different way. About a month ago, I received a letter stating she had moved to another state. She claimed she needed a fresh start, away from all the persecution she had faced here. She abandoned her visitation rights and her job without notice. I filed for full legal custody with no visitation requirement, which the court granted due to her abandonment. My daughter and I are settling into our new normal. Her therapy is going well and she's adjusting to life without her mother. The school continues to provide counseling services, and her teachers report she's doing well academically, despite all the upheaval. I've joined a support group for single parents, which has been helpful. Last week, cheating ex contacted me. She's apparently living with a new boyfriend in another state and suddenly demands to see our daughter. She threatened legal action if I don't arrange for our daughter to visit her. Given her history of abandonment and the court's previous rulings, her threats hold little weight. Also, I started casually dating again. Haven't introduced anyone to my daughter yet, though. Taking it slow. The smear campaign, violating custody agreements, exposing her daughter to someone who was already deemed inappropriate by the school, it all speaks to someone completely disconnected from accountability. And then, after torching everything, she had the nerve to demand more money to support the very relationship that blew it all up. Final update. It's been almost a year since my last update, and I thought I'd share how things have turned out. So much has changed, mostly for the better. The divorce has been final for some time now, and I've had full custody of our daughter for over a year. My wife's threats of legal action after moving out of state turned out to be empty. She filed some paperwork in her new state trying to modify the custody arrangement, but her case was quickly dismissed when she failed to show up for the hearing. My attorney told me she likely realized how weak her position was, especially after abandoning our daughter for months. About 6 months ago, she tried a new approach. She started sending gifts and cards to our daughter, claiming she missed her terribly and wanted to rebuild their relationship. Our daughter was confused and upset by this sudden attention after being ignored for so long. Her therapist advised me to let our daughter decide how to respond, while providing support and guidance. My daughter chose to write back once, telling her mother that she was hurt by her leaving and needed time. She responded with a long, self-pitying email about how everyone had turned against her and how she was the real victim. I didn't share this with my daughter. The relationship between my ex and the teacher completely fell apart. He's now working at a store in another city, unable to find another teacher position due to his termination. Apparently, he blames my ex for ruining his life and has cut all contact with her. The irony. My ex's financial situation has continued to deteriorate. She's made exactly 3 child support payments in the past year, all of them partial amounts. I filed for enforcement, but since she's moved across state lines and keeps changing jobs, it's been difficult to collect. I'm not pursuing it aggressively because, honestly, my daughter and I are doing fine without her money. I just want the record to show her neglect. 3 months ago, my ex showed up at her front door. She looked terrible. had lost weight, seemed disheveled, and was clearly desperate. She begged to see our daughter, claiming she had changed and learned her lesson. I refused to let her in and remind her of the court order requiring supervised visitation, which she had repeatedly violated by not showing up. She broke down crying on our porch, saying her new relationship had ended badly and she had nowhere else to go. She actually asked if she could move back in with us temporarily until she got back on her feet. I couldn't believe her audacity. I told her absolutely not and suggested she contact a shelter if she was truly homeless. She screamed that I was heartless and that I'd stolen everything from her. I closed the door and called the police. By the time they arrived, she was gone. 2 weeks later, she tried to pick up our daughter from school again, despite the permanent ban. The school security system worked perfectly. She was identified immediately and denied entry and escorted off the property. The principal called me right away to let me know what had happened. My daughter never knew her mother had been there. I filed for a restraining order the next day, which was granted based on her pattern of erratic behavior. On a more positive note, my daughter is thriving. She's now in middle school and doing exceptionally well academically. She's made new friends and joined the school band. Her therapist says she's shown remarkable resilience and has processed her feelings about her mother in a healthy way. We still have occasional difficult conversations, especially around Mother's Day or when friends talk about their moms, but overall, she's adjusted amazingly well. As for me, I've been seeing someone for about 6 months now. She's wonderful, kind, honest, and respectful of the fact that my daughter comes first. We've taken things slowly, but my daughter met her a couple of months ago, and they get along well. I was nervous about dating again after everything that happened. I received an unexpected letter from my ex-mother-in-law last month. We were never particularly close during the marriage, and she initially sided with her daughter after our split. In her letter, she apologized for believing her lies my ex had told her about me being abusive. She wrote that she's finally seen her daughter's pattern of deception and wanted me to know that she regrets not being more supportive of me and our daughter. She asked if she could maintain a relationship with her granddaughter. I'm considering it, as my daughter has always been fond of her grandmother. The fact that she thought she could waltz back into your lives, let alone ask to move in, is unreal. As for your ex-mother-in-law's letter, that's a tough one. It's validating to hear that someone from your ex's side is finally acknowledging the truth. If your daughter has a good relationship with her grandmother, and you believe the intentions are sincere, a cautious reconnection could be beneficial for her. But you're absolutely right to take your time and set boundaries. Would you let your kid reconnect with a parent who walked out and only came back when everything fell apart? Or would you keep that door shut to protect them? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time!